The Seattle skyline shimmered under a November dusk, its lights flickering like a promise of warmth against the biting chill. Emma Caldwell locked the door to her HVAC shop, her breath fogging in the crisp air. Her work boots crunched on the gravel as she headed to her pickup truck, a faint smile tugging at her lips. Thanksgiving was just days away, and for the first time in years, she'd planned ahead, jobs scheduled, bonuses prepped for her crew, and a bottle of Napa Valley Cabernet tucked away for the family dinner. But as she climbed into the driver's seat, her phone buzzed, shattering the quiet. Her mother's name, Diane Walsh, glowed on the screen. Emma's smile widened, expecting the usual pre-holiday banter about whether she'd bring her famous pecan pie or go with pumpkin this year. Emma, we need to talk about Thanksgiving. Diane's voice crackled through, sharp and unsteady, like she was tiptoeing around something dangerous. Emma's grip on the steering wheel tightened, her gut sensing trouble. What's up, Mom? A pause, heavy and deliberate. We think it's best if you don't come to dinner this year. Emma's foot slipped off the clutch, the truck lurching forward before she slammed the brakes. What, Mom? What are you talking about? We always do Thanksgiving together. Her voice trembled, a mix of shock and rising anger. Diane sighed, the kind of rehearsed exhale Emma knew too well. It's just, this year, we're keeping things more formal. Sophia's boyfriend, Nathan, is bringing his parents. And we want to make a good impression. You know, keep it to close family. Emma's chest tightened, her knuckles whitening. I am close family, Mom. Of course you are, sweetheart, Diane said, her tone dripping with forced warmth. But Nathan's family, they're professionals. We just thought it'd be better this way. The words hit like a sledgehammer. Emma's job, running her own HVAC business, fixing furnaces, climbing into attics, wasn't good enough. Not for Sophia, her younger sister, who'd spent years chasing a law degree on Emma's dime. So, what? Because I don't sit in a corner office, I'm not welcome at the table? Emma's voice rose, cracking with hurt. Emma, don't make this about you. Diane snapped, her patience thinning. It's just one dinner. We'll do a brunch or something later. Okay? Emma laughed, a short, bitter sound. One dinner, after I've paid for Sophia's tuition, her rent, her entire life? You're unbelievable. She hung up, her hands shaking as she stared at the dashboard. The hum of the city faded, replaced by a roaring in her ears. She'd given everything to her family, late nights, skipped vacations, every spare dollar funneled into Sophia's education. And now, they'd shoved her aside like she was nothing. That night, as Emma sat in her apartment, the glow of her phone cut through the darkness. A text from her cousin, Riley. Emma, you need to know something about Thanksgiving. I overheard Sophia and Aunt Diane. Sophia didn't want you there. She said your job would make her look low class in front of Nathan's parents. Her exact words. I can't have them thinking we're blue collar. Emma read the message twice, her stomach churning. Her own sister, the one she'd supported through every semester, was ashamed of her. The signs had been there. Sophia dodging Emma's visits to campus, brushing off questions about her job, never introducing her to Nathan. Emma had chalked it up to Sophia being busy, distracted. But this was betrayal, plain and raw. The next morning, Emma woke with a clarity she hadn't felt in years. She brewed her coffee, the scent grounding her as she opened her laptop. Logging into the university's payment portal was muscle memory by now. Years of covering Sophia's tuition had made it second nature. The screen loaded. Balance, $22. Due in 14 days. Emma stared at the number, her finger hovering over the trackpad. She'd never hesitated before, always clicking, pay now, without a second thought. But today, her cursor drifted to remove payment method. A pop-up appeared. Are you sure? This action cannot be undone. She clicked, yes. The screen refreshed. And just like that, Emma was no longer Sophia's financial lifeline. She closed the laptop, her pulse steady, a weight lifting from her shoulders. For the first time, she wasn't carrying someone else's burden. But she knew the storm was coming. It hit faster than she expected. Her phone rang before noon, Diane's name flashing like a warning. Emma let it go to voicemail. But the calls kept coming. Relentless. By the fourth, she sighed and picked up. Bracing herself. Emma, what the hell are you doing? Diane's voice was a mix of panic and fury. Sophia just got an email from the university saying her tuition payment was cancelled. Tell me this is a mistake. It's not a mistake, Emma said, her voice calm, almost cold. She sipped her coffee, savoring the silence that followed. Emma, how could you be so heartless? Diane's tone shifted to accusation. She's your sister. Heartless? Emma's laugh was sharp, cutting. That's rich. Coming from the woman who uninvited me to Thanksgiving because my job embarrasses Sophia. Diane tried to pivot, her voice softening into manipulation. She was just trying to impress Nathan's family. She's young. Emma, she didn't mean it like that. She's 25, Mom, old enough to know exactly what she's doing. Emma's grip tightened on her mug. I promised to help my sister. Not someone who treats me like I'm invisible. You're overreacting, Diane pressed. Her words clipped. Family sacrifices for each other. That's what we do. Funny how family only matters when I'm the one giving. Emma shot back. I needed one thing. Just a seat at the damn table. And you all made it clear I don't belong. I'm done, Mom. Sophia's on her own. Emma, you can't, Diane started. But Emma hung up, her heart pounding but resolute. She'd drawn the line, and there was no going back. The calls didn't stop. Sophia's voicemails flooded in, each one more frantic. Emma, what's going on? The school says my payment didn't go through. Call me back, please. Then came her father, Tom, his voice gruff with disapproval. Emma, this is too far. You're hurting your own blood. Aunt Karen, Uncle Mike, even family friends Emma hadn't spoken to in years, they all chimed in, painting her as the villain. How could you do this to Sophia? It's just money. Emma, you've got plenty. Don't be so selfish. Not one of them mentioned Thanksgiving. Not one asked how it felt to be erased by her own family. Emma let the messages pile up. Unanswered. She'd spent years being the reliable one. The fixer. The bank. But now, she was done playing that role. As the day wore on, Emma sat at her kitchen table, staring out at the Seattle rain. The city's pulse thrummed outside. But inside, she felt a strange calm. She'd made her choice, not out of spite, but survival. Sophia, Diane, the whole family, they'd learn soon enough that actions had consequences. And Emma? She was just getting started. The Seattle rain pounded against Emma Caldwell's apartment window, a relentless rhythm that matched the storm brewing inside her. It had been a week since she'd pulled the plug on Sophia's tuition payments. And the fallout was as brutal as she'd expected. Her phone, once a lifeline to her family, had become a battleground. Voicemails piled up, Sophia's shrill panic, her mother Diane's guilt trips, her father Tom's stern lectures. Even distant relatives and family friends had joined the chorus, painting Emma as the heartless sister who'd abandoned her own blood. But Emma wasn't budging. For the first time in years, she was choosing herself, and the weight of that choice felt both terrifying and exhilarating. Sophia, however, wasn't going down quietly. She'd taken to social media, her weapon of choice in a world obsessed with optics. Her posts were carefully crafted, vague enough to dodge outright lies but pointed enough to sting. Some people choose money over family. Heartbreaking, she wrote in one, accompanied by a selfie with a somber expression. Her law school library in the background. Another read. I always believed in lifting up my siblings. Guess not everyone feels the same. The comments poured in, a tidal wave of sympathy from her carefully curated followers. You don't deserve this. Soph. Stay strong. Girl, you're better than them. Family should never betray family. Emma scrolled through the posts on her phone, her jaw tight. She recognized names in the comments, cousins she hadn't seen in years. Family friends who'd never bothered to check on her. Even a former high school classmate who'd once borrowed $50 and never paid it back. They all rallied behind Sophia, swallowing her victim narrative hook, line, and sinker. But what they didn't know, what Sophia had carefully omitted, was the truth. Emma had bankrolled her sister's entire education. From tuition to rent to the designer bags Sophia flaunted on Instagram. And in return, she'd been erased from the family's Thanksgiving table. Deemed too working class to sit beside Nathan's polished parents. The betrayal burned, but Emma wasn't surprised. Sophia had always been a master of appearances. A chameleon who could charm her way into any room. But this time, her game was unraveling. The first crack appeared when Nathan, Sophia's boyfriend, received an anonymous message late one night. Did you know Sophia's been lying about who pays her tuition? At first, he dismissed it as a troll. But the seed of doubt took root. He'd always assumed Sophia's parents were funding her law school. Her stories about their comfortable life in the suburbs had been convincing. But something about the message nagged at him. And he decided to dig. Posing as Sophia, Nathan called the university's financial office. After a few transfers and some creative fibbing, he got the truth. Sophia's tuition had been paid by one person, Emma Caldwell, until the latest payment was abruptly cancelled. No parental contributions, no scholarships, just Emma's name on every transaction for years. Nathan's stomach churned as he hung up. He'd sat at that Thanksgiving table, laughing and clinking glasses, while Sophia had ensured Emma was nowhere in sight. The realization hit him like a freight train. Sophia wasn't just hiding her sister's job. She was hiding her sister's sacrifices. That night, when Sophia showed up at Nathan's sleek downtown apartment, expecting their usual routine of takeout and Netflix, she found a different scene. Nathan stood by the door, arms crossed, his usual easy smile replaced by a cold, unreadable expression. Why did I have to find out from a stranger that Emma was paying for your school? He asked. His voice low but sharp. Sophia froze, her designer purse slipping slightly in her grip. What are you talking about? She stammered, her mind racing for an excuse. I called the university, Nathan said, stepping closer. I thought I could help with your tuition, since you were so stressed about it. But they told me Emma's been covering everything. Every single semester. And you let me believe it was your parents. Sophia's face flushed, but she tried to salvage it, her voice softening into a practiced plea. Nathan, it's not a big deal. I just didn't want you to think I was some charity case. Stop. Nathan cut her off, his tone slicing through her words. You used Emma like a bank. And when she finally said no, you turned her into the villain. And Thanksgiving? You made sure she wasn't there because you were ashamed of her. Who are you? Sophia's throat tightened, her usual charm failing her. Nathan, please. You don't understand. I understand enough, he said, grabbing his keys from the counter. I need you to leave. We're done. The door closed behind her with a finality that echoed in her chest. For the first time, Sophia felt the ground shift beneath her carefully constructed world. She stumbled back to her apartment, tears stinging her eyes, but the worst was yet to come. The next morning, an email from the university landed in her inbox. Final warning, tuition payment past due. Her balance, $22, remained unpaid. With 48 hours until automatic unenrollment. Sophia's hands shook as she logged into the student portal, hoping for a glitch, an extension, anything. Nothing. She scrambled for a student loan. But her parents' bad credit and existing debts led to immediate denials. She tried calling Nathan, then texting, then calling again, voicemail every time. Desperate, she scrolled to Emma's name, her finger hovering over the call button. The screen flashed. User has blocked you. Sophia's world was collapsing, and she had no one to blame but herself. But instead of reflecting, she doubled down. She stormed into Emma's HVAC shop during a busy afternoon. Her hair disheveled, eyes wild with rage. The front door slammed open, startling employees and clients alike. You ruined my life, Sophia screamed, pointing a trembling finger at Emma, who stood calmly behind the counter. Emma set down her clipboard, unfazed. No, Sophia, you did that all on your own. You left me with nothing. Sophia's voice cracked, her performance drawing curious glances from the room. You abandoned your own sister. Emma crossed her arms, her voice steady but cutting. Funny, I don't recall you calling me your sister when you were lying to Nathan about who paid for your degree. Or when you kicked me out of Thanksgiving because my job wasn't fancy enough. Sophia's face twisted, but she pressed on, raising her voice for the audience. She's selfish. She only cares about herself. She's not who you think she is. The room fell silent, but not in the way Sophia hoped. No one rushed to her defense. Instead, Emma's senior technician, Marcus, stepped forward, his deep voice calm but firm. "Ma'am, you need to leave. This is a place of business. And you're causing a scene." Sophia spun toward him, incredulous. "I'm her sister. And this is her business." Marcus replied, unyielding. "You're trespassing." Security arrived minutes later, escorting a screaming Sophia out the door. Her curses echoed down the street. But Emma felt nothing but relief. The confrontation, though messy, was the final nail in the coffin of her family's hold over her. That night, Emma sat in her apartment, the city's glow filtering through her blinds. Her phone buzzed. Another call from Diane. She answered, ready to end it. "Emma, we need to talk," Diane said, her voice tight with forced calm. "Sophia's a mess. She's had to move back home. And we can't afford her tuition. You've made your point, but let's work something out." Emma laughed, low and bitter. "Work something out? You mean you want me to open my wallet again? After you all threw me away for Sophia's ego?" "Emma, she's family," Diane pleaded. "She's young. She made a mistake. She's 25, Mom. And her mistake was treating me like garbage while I paid for her life." Emma's voice was steady, resolute. "Find another ATM. I'm done." She hung up, and for the first time, the silence that followed felt like freedom. The calls stopped. The guilt trips faded. Emma was no longer the family's fixer, their scapegoat, their bank. She was just Emma, business owner, survivor, and finally, her own priority. As the weeks passed, Emma threw herself into her HVAC business, which was thriving. New clients poured in, her crew expanded, and she even started eyeing a second location. For years, she'd downplayed her success, afraid it would make her family feel small. But now, she owned it. She wasn't ashamed of her calloused hands or the grease stains on her work jeans. They were proof of a life she'd built, brick by brick, without anyone's handouts. Sophia, meanwhile, was learning the hard way that lies have a shelf life. Back at her parents' cramped suburban home, she faced a reality she'd spent years avoiding. No degree. No Nathan. No safety net. Her social media posts grew quieter. Her followers' sympathy replaced by indifference as her story lost its shine. Diane and Tom struggled to keep up with their own bills, let alone bail Sophia out. They still blamed Emma, but their words held no weight anymore. One evening, as Emma sat on her couch with a glass of that Napa Valley Cabernet she'd saved for Thanksgiving, her cousin Riley called. "Sophia's dropped out," Riley said, her voice neutral. "She's working part-time at a coffee shop. Says she'll figure it out. But you know how she is." Emma nodded, unsurprised. "And Mom and Dad? Still acting like you're the bad guy," Riley said with a dry laugh. "But for what it's worth, I think you did the right thing." "Thanks, Emma said, a small smile breaking through. "Merry Christmas." "Merry Christmas, Em. You deserve a good one." As Emma hung up, she glanced at her phone. A text from Diane. "Merry Christmas. We miss you. Let's talk." She stared at it, her thumb hovering over the reply button. A year ago, she'd have caved, let guilt pull her back into the cycle. But now, she deleted the message, took a sip of wine, and leaned back, the city's hum wrapping around her like a promise. This wasn't just a story of cutting ties. It was a battle cry for anyone who's ever been taken for granted. Emma's journey screams a truth Americans know deep in their bones. Family isn't a blank check. Respect isn't owed, it's earned. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is walk away from those who refuse to see your worth. Emma's not done fighting, she's just getting started. And if you've ever had to draw a line in the sand with the people you love, you know exactly why her story hits so hard.